Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? It's just points dropped on the road. The writing has been on the wall for everyone to see all the way through the January transfer window over the last half a dozen matches or so, on and off the pitch. Things are just not clicking, they're not synergising, and the result finally is there to kind of is there for all to see at this point. There's no like fluky victories where, you know, we maybe got away with one at the end, or we only squeaked a goal. We had Mikey Johnson come off the bench and get 2 goals. And a lot of the problems we've seen in the team from pre-season, early season, Champions League, all the way through to now aren't going away. If anything, some of them are getting a lot worse. In the video today, we'll be looking at where the game was lost, which won't take very long because it's the same stuff that happens every week. And I do mean where the game was lost. You know, we didn't win the game, where we lost the game in that sense. And just really that top-down view on what does need to change on the pitch for Celtic to get better results. What were we doing better at before? What are the strengths of the team that we have here that we're kind of missing out on? And, you know, everything else in between, really. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn. Maybe not laugh. Maybe you like something. I don't know. Whatever. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers, and we can't do that without your support, boys and girls. So get into the comment section on this one and let me know what you think about the video. Where do you think the game was lost? You know, where did we not get the 3 points? What was the deciding factor for you? And let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, when we look at how Aberdeen were lined up, it's the same way Aberdeen lined up basically last time we've played them this season, and it's a very similar carbon copy to the way that Ross County had actually played against us last week. But it's a 4-2-3-1, and it crushes in very quickly to maybe a bit more 4-4-2-y for Aberdeen. You know, the guy that was in the number 10 spot in the second half, it was Clarkson. At the beginning of the game, it was Phillips. They were kind of more forward-based than midfield-based, so a wee bit more 4-4-1-1 perhaps for Aberdeen throughout the match when they were out of possession. But nonetheless, it's the same principle of what's happened, where they're getting 3 men out to the wide area whenever we try and put Palma on the ball or Abada, and we're relying on individual brilliance that they don't seem capable of having, or have the freedom or instruction to be able to attack in that way. Now again, last week I did say I thought it was one of Palma's best games, and I did think in the first half I've never seen him play with so much fire and intensity in his game. I thought, wow, he could actually be on to an amazing match, and it unfortunately never really panned out that way. The number one problem we've had with all the attackers really in this game, and most every other match, is they just never, ever, ever look for each other. None of them's ever thinking, right, I'm in the box, how can I buy a yard and then just tap it up for someone just to make sure that we get the goals in. It's the first half, we're in this ascendancy, we've got them on the back foot, we're on the front foot, and let's go and just put the team to the sword, go get the goals. We don't get that. As soon as Palma's in the box, he's thinking, I'm teeing myself up and I'm banging it right off that goalkeeper's chest every single time. And Abada doesn't really seem like he's capable of going by people too much anymore. Has always struggled to do that. Abada's much better in a foot race, or when you've got the defender backtracking. You know, he's very good at kind of dealing with people when they're retreating and they're faced up with him. But shoulder to shoulder, you know, both players are on their heels. Abada, he doesn't always have that wriggle to him to kind of get through and kind of penetrate into the box. One of the most frustrating things about the attack for me is that when we are aiming it to, you know, go down the left-hand side or the right-hand side, whatever it might be, we'll just keep the ball on the left because that's where we are at the moment. There's not that sense of urgency from the other side of the pitch to come in and be effective. This is something, I always forget if it's positionalism or what the other word was, but there's a lot of people that think about football in very, very fancy terms, and I forget exactly what the term of it was. But essentially, when we've got the ball out here on the left-hand side and we are, you know, in a 3v3 situation, we're trying to get ourselves into the box. Maybe Bernaby's going to make this kind of run, or maybe Palma is going to get by the man and get into this kind of zone here. The sort of opportunities we've seen ourselves creating in the match. We have got absolutely zero need for, you know, width across the pitch. We've got absolutely zero need for a right winger to be free in space, available for the switch, which is Abada in this case. What we have an urgent need for all of a sudden is extra bodies in the box. We have an extra need now for another attacker. And this is normally what you think you're going to get from Abada, is somebody who's going to come in here, sniff out a chance, get a yard, or be on the end of a tap-in or a rebound or something like that, and go and get himself a goal or an assist or whatever. And he, you know, Abada in particular, but this is true for both sides of the pitch, they're just so, that because their instructions are to hold the width out there, because we've got Bernaby inside, Alistair Johnson was very narrow in this game as well. We are going to quickly work the ball from a wide area into the box. We only have Kyogo. We maybe have another midfielder coming in here. and Aberdeen are going to have 4, 5, 6 bodies in here at a minimum, as well as a goalkeeper who is very good at shot stopping. There's no two ways about that. He's a very difficult keeper to score goals against in most occasions for any team in the league, and that's kind of obvious from the games we've seen him play against Celtic and everyone else. Now in total, again, we had another match where we are rocking out with, unfortunately, the overall scores in this game, the player ratings out of 100 is much, much lower because we actually completed far fewer successful actions in the final third in this game. The amount of registered actions we've got in the dangerous zones of the pitch is very, very low for this match. We again dominated possession on 71%, had 22 shots, only 4 on target. So there doesn't seem to be a clear route to go that the whole team is on side with and understands this is how, we are going to actually attack against a team that are going to have lots of numbers defending. How do we actually go and attack and make sure we can create goals? This is the whole principle of the inverted fullback thing, is to give yourself an uncomfortable overload in an area of the pitch that the opposition isn't used to dealing with. Because again, positionalism or relation ballism or whatever all these people call it, like, you don't need a left back most of the time to just sit out here and be a left back and be not be involved in the match, essentially. But you could use somebody else in midfield to help, get the ball around tight spaces, maybe even make that third man and run into the box, and then could maybe even square it for a tap in or do these kind of things. So the whole principle of this inverted fullback thing is to overload into this central funnel zone here and make sure that even if your opponent is, packed in and crowded with numbers, you've got numbers in there as well. And then it is, like hitting shots, rebounds, ricochets, all the stuff, as well as like good, well-worked goals as well when, the winger does buy a yard and fizzes a ball right to the front post and someone just crashes in and scores it, that kind of thing. But if we're going to have both these guys in here, then McGregor is far too deep, far too often in the match. And both Bernardo and O'Reilly are both kind of both trying to do this whole box-to-box, line-to-line job. And I see this problem quite a lot in the Premier League, where because you're asking these guys to really go around everywhere doing everything, in theory, it works. They can do it. They're capable of it. You get a lot of success from it in the majority of matches, the majority of the time. But it is going to open yourself up to mistakes at both ends of the pitch because people just can't teleport across the pitch and be in the right position all of a sudden if they're having to do multiple jobs, which is why you do need these other players that are going to be the inverted fullback or when Kyogo's dropping deep into midfield, when they're into these positions, they then need to, contribute for where they are in the ball, and we're not getting that at all. We're getting absolute safety in possession, control, but it's trying to go for death by 1,000 paper cuts, but you can't do that if you don't get shots on target. If we're going to be a Champions League level club like we always aspire to be, forget about all the off-pitch stuff for a start. We have to be in the rhythm of scoring 3, 4, 5 goals a game. If you look at every team that's not in a top 5 league in Europe that competes at the level that we aspire to, getting high score lines of that kind of level that we have done in the past and we are capable of on a regular basis over the season is part of the diet to being then at that level. If we're taking 22 shots at Aberdeen, and I don't need to go through the stats for the rest of the games because it's all very similar, and only 4 of them are on target and we're scoring 1, then the problems aren't just recruitment, because this team for the most part is quite similar to last year, and when you've not got a guy that's capable of scoring goals all the time like Kyogo, Abada's kind of back now, right? I don't know if he's just checked out or if he's just not the same player now after the injury, or maybe he's taken ages to get back to the level that he was at, but I think he should be shown where he's at. O'Reilly had an off day, so we can maybe forgive him this one. And McGregor, let us say, McGregor just feels too much like he's got instructions that he follows to the letter, and he's not going to be that rule breaker. And that's really what this Brendan Rodgers team needs, is a rule breaker, a guy that will get on the ball and, grasp the opportunity, and see, Kyogo's made this little run into a blind spot, or I'm just going to welly it from here because we've got 3 guys in the box, and if the keeper doesn't grab it, then there's a good chance we've got a guy that will get close to it. Whatever it might be, a guy that just sees the opportunity and takes it. And I think in the second half, we got a little bit of that from Quinny. Now, the triple substitution was one of the most baffling parts of this game to me. And I understand that the manager's trying to change 4-4-2. We put Big Ida up top. We get Quinny on. And to be honest with you, both of them, impressed in this game. Ida looked the part. Looked a guy that is playing between upper-end Championship and bottom-end Premier League. Very good in the touch, quite composed on the ball, comfortable in the setting. Didn't really make any bad choices. Obviously, is getting up to speed with, just Scottish football and the differences in it. And Quinny, again, very similar outing to his debut, but obviously he gets the goal this time. And Quinny, what he does is he does a bit of rule breaking. And when you see the success that he's had in this game, he's been travelling from this outside position. He's not had people to control the pass to and build up the play and, you know, then get himself into this zone and say, oh, hi, Matt, can you pass the ball to me now so I can have a wee shot because we've got control of the ball. He's taking the ball. He sees the opportunity. He can come inside. There's plenty of space in this in front of the box because Aberdeen are so deep. And he comes inside of the pitch and he fancies himself for a shot. Lovely little give and go from this fellow substitute, Ida. Gets lucky with a deflection. And, you know, it gives us a bit of hope for the remainder of the game. But he didn't really do much besides from that because these 3 changes... We put Ralston on into left back, right? And Ralston played much, much more of the left back role you would expect Bernabei to play, the overloading, bombastic wing back. Again, we're seeing Bernabei tucking in. And when we see Ralston out here, he's going over and beyond Palma. He's given, I was thinking how long did he play with Palma? But yeah, like a good 25 minutes before Vata came on, he was going over and beyond him, playing balls in with his left foot, coming back in on his right foot. It was very awkward and very clumsy on this side of the pitch, don't get me wrong. But by having Ida up, we didn't gain anything in the box, really. We didn't actually gain anything in terms of attacking. It was still, can you find Ida for a little flick on? Can you find Kyogo? Kyogo was dropping a bit deeper into a midfield zone, trying to get on the ball. But Kyogo just seems like he's never learned pass and go. He's never learned what a 1-2 is. When he's deeper in these zones, the first thing he should be thinking is, bang, play the ball into you, and then just give it back to me. He doesn't think that way, but he never seems to want to play the 1-2. I never really see him trying it that often with lots of different players. It feels like he's maybe nervous he's not going to get the ball back from them, or he believes in himself maybe a bit too much that he can take a shot from the edge of the box, or he can beat another man and then get a shot away, rather than taking the easy option of, you know, a 1-2, a give and go. And like I said earlier, with all the players, there just doesn't seem to be that great synergy where they want to set each other up for tap-ins. And for the amount of possession we're getting, and when we're then like getting Kyogo running from deep now, we're definitely getting a late runner, even though we should have 2 up top. But he's dropping deep, so it's not totally 2 up top, because if it was really 2 up top, it's 1 each, we're going for it. Kyogo and Ida would have been quite close to each other, and you'd see O'Reilly in a lot of these zones couldn't come in. You would have just seen a lot more of this rather than Kyogo coming into these little pockets and trying to transition. Now, Aberdeen were still dangerous all the way through this game and could have won it, very similar to Ross County, could have got a draw last week, and, you know, I'm not going to go through all the other results. But I do think in games like this, like, the lack of quality is really, it feels a lot more extreme than what it is, because we are so far away from getting like 10 shots on target and like 3 or 4 goals out of this game. But we have been missing a lot of key players. It's just that excuse, that drum, has just been hit for too long this season. The manager has got a good enough squad of players that these guys should be playing better than the way they are. Like, realistically, Aberdeen are not going to attack this game with more than 2 or 3 attackers on the counter-attack, especially now winning at 1-0. And with the way Alistair Johnson really hasn't been a great right-back, and, you know, give a bit of Naroki a bit of protection with some guys around him, I don't know why we don't just camp in with a little free here, keep Bernardo on the pitch, put Ida on, put him up next to Kyogo. And yeah, I know Kuhn and Palma are not wing-backs and we're going to be totally exposed in those wide areas, but at 1-0 down, the 59th minute, making a double sub to make sure we go and get back into the game. Kuhn can go and get his goal. It makes it 1 each, and then maybe you can take off Palma or Welsh. Take Palma off for Welsh if you want to play the game a bit more defensively later on, if we start to get the result back in. You've got a lot more options later in the game because we don't have really any need, want, or desire to have a slightly better left back in this game. What we need is better options in attack. We need to create overloads, and we need to have our best attackers on the pitch, ready, willing, and able to score the goals for us. And Bernardo, as much as I don't really put him into that category, and I know Palma didn't come off till later, but I felt that taking Bernabei off for Ralston doesn't gain anything, holds the team back. When you see Ida for Bernardo, you think, yeah, okay. But then for me later on, to see Welsh come on, like, even if Naroki's on the yellow and you want to sub him off later for Ralston or whatever, then you could do that. I think this team makes a rapid improvement when we've got Daisen Maeda back in the team, fit and firing, hopefully after the Asia Cup. Hopefully he's not picked up anything. We know Hatate is not going to be around for the next couple of weeks, and similar to Carter Vickers, I think everyone's in agreement that Naroki played a very good match, but for that goal, he's just been, you know, he's crapped the bed on that one. He's pissed the bed. If it was Carter Vickers, he probably stops that. We'd probably get away with this game 1-0. And again, it would be the result over the game, and it would be, oh, we still won. We're probably still going to win the league. No big shakes. And yeah, so I think with those players back in, the team is wildly different very quickly. But again, that drum has just been beaten for too long this season. And even with the guys playing, there should be more. You know, Rodgers is talking about the recruitment team being braver. Like, this team isn't brave to go and take chances and throw bodies into the box and go and, like, you know, say break the rules and all that other stuff we spoke about in the video. I feel like I'm going in circles, guys. And of course, I agree. I just didn't really want to get into it in this video that if we'd signed some more players in January, of course, this game could have been much, much different. I just wanted to focus on, you know, what's actually in front of us and what was... Like, Rodgers in the aftermath of the game said that we didn't pass good enough and we didn't win enough second and third balls. And it's like, what? We're trying to win the league. We're not worried about winning second and third balls. We're worried about getting 8 shots on target rather than 4. We're worried about goal-scoring opportunities, not dealing with balls in the air. Those things were getting dealt with most of the time. We had 71% of possession, 12 corners. That's not about winning second and third balls and passing accuracy. That's about route to goal, a plan of attack. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one somehow, guys. I look forward to catching the comment section on screen now with some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Have a good weekend if you can, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hail, hail.